Well, good morning, and welcome to the Authentic Great Show. I'm so excited for this series that I'm doing during Black History Month. I'm so excited about each and every guest that I have for you, and today is no different. Um, I am welcoming today Chante Cross. Welcome to Authentic Great, Chante.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's so good to have you here. You have such an amazing background, which you guys will be able to hear about her as we have this organic conversation, as well as information about her will be shared and how to connect with her in the comments. So feel free to chat with us, talk with us as you're listening to her. If you have questions, drop it in. She can answer. And, let's just make this a very interactive, fun interview and not interview, but conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to kick us off, and I actually am, if I look left to right, it's just because, like I said, a lot of the information written information is here. My camera's here. So I just want to start off and just get us warmed up. And my company's name is Authentigrate, and I would really love to hear what comes to mind when you hear that word, Authentigrate.
Well, it's funny when you sent me the information about the name of the company, I had to think about it because it's a very unique name. But then it came to me, Authentically Integrate. And I
Yes.
was like, that's it's it's really interesting that you put that together, and the idea of authentically integrating um, you know, wherever you are, whether it be a move overseas or into a community or a job, being able to come into that system and be yourself, but be able to mix and mingle and adapt to where you are.
Yes, I love that, and that's exactly what it was, and of course, it came out of me trying to figure out, who I was going to be. I remember when I moved abroad, I packed all the boxes, I did everything right, I knew all where to shop, where the schools were, things like that, but no one talked about the emotional transition and how I would what I would experience and how I would find belonging in a new place, but still be me, and this is not about me, and we won't go into that, but what you're saying also led me to do even this particular series, which is I'm calling Passport, Your Ticket to Freedom, because a lot of times, some of the things we'll talk about is the fear of people going abroad, or
Mm.
fear of what they think prevents people from sometimes traveling, studying, and living abroad. But it was so enriching, and I know you lived abroad. So first, what I would love to do is when you hear that, so you heard Authentic Great Passport, Your Ticket to Freedom, and then you and your travels and what you've done. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've done and where you've lived.
Well, let me see. Well, who I am, I'm a therapist, well-being coach, previously an international educator, which is actually what led me outside of the States. I started my journey overseas at the encouragement of a friend, and it's really, when I reflect on it, it's really interesting how it came about. Very, I don't know, free spirit like is kind of what comes to mind.
Mhm,
Like I said, I'm an educator. I do hold a school counseling license in the state of Arizona.
mhm,
And I was working in Georgia back in 20, let me think. It had to be like 2009 when I started working in an Atlanta suburb school system. And I
mhm,
met a teacher there, and she and I kept in contact over the years. And then in 2017,
mhm.
I mean, yeah, 2017. She said, I'm going overseas. I'm kind of taking a job in Kuwait. And she said, you should do it too. I was like,
Mm,
well, let me think about it.
yeah,
Um, and I've always been a student of culture. I love culture. I love learning about different peoples, different places. Um, Before I left the States, I had actually lived in several different states in the United States. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let me do it. And so I started looking, and I landed my first position in Fiji. Um, Let me say that I have three children.
okay.
My oldest is 24, my daughter is now 14, and my youngest son is 11. So
Mhm.
at the time, my oldest son he had graduated high school, and he was
Yeah.
trying to figure out his way. And he actually didn't take the jump with us because I
Mhm.
said, well, you've got to figure out what you're doing and where you're going. He had no direction. And I said, well, moving to another country where you can't work, where you can't go to school, that's
Yes.
really not going to help you.
Yeah.
So it's me and my two younger children, and we made that jump, and that was our first international address. And then from there, we moved to Egypt, and then from Egypt to Taiwan, and that's where we are now.
That is so amazing. I love it. And oh gosh, that we can go so many ways with this. I could talk about the kids because I definitely have want to do that. But so it was at an encouragement of a friend. May I ask you, how old were you when you first traveled out of the country?
My first move out of the country was my first ever step outside of the United States.
Wow.
I
That
had
is
never
so
traveled internationally.
yeah.
We moved, and that was the first time ever.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That is inspiring, first of all, and that I can tell you're a very courageous person. And so then so you're out there, you're teaching, you're adjusting, your kids are adjusting. Um, what made you want to get into expat coaching? Why do we say why, expat coaching is unique? What happens when people, do move abroad?
You know, for lack of a better term, and not to sound so cliche,
Mm,
it's culture shock. I mean, it really is. And I didn't mention that I do have a small, I guess, vlog. I'm trying to, get into utilizing social media to tell my story. And so I do have a vlog called Single Parenting Abroad because
mm,
I'm a single parent,
yes,
out here trying to take care of my children and still, again, adjust, adapt in an authentic way. Um,
yes.
so, there's a culture shock depending on if this is your first time
Mm,
living outside
mhm,
of your home country. There's a lot to get used to.
yes.
And what I've recognized as far as Americans are concerned, when we first leave America, we look for America in the places that we go, and
Yes.
that's very counterproductive,
Yes.
um, because you're still wanting some of the conveniences that America has. It's really interesting when people go to the grocery store, they start looking for American products,
Yeah.
and it's like I understand that that's what we know, and so of course we gravitate to what we know. It makes us feel comfortable, but
Yes.
the more you prolong it, the harder it is to acculturate to where you are.
Mhm.
Um, and so getting used to how things are done in different places, I think that's the hardest part.
Mm. I definitely feel you on that, and I will. I wrote down the single parenting blog because we will come back to single parenting. I do think people are gonna want insight into that. I do think that you're right. I think we look for America, but we also don't so I'll speak. One of the things I saw is I was actually more interested in assimilating. So when I moved out of the country, we were gonna be there for the rest of our lives because we
Mhm,
took a permanent job there. Didn't work out that way. We ended up back here during COVID, and he was offered a job here. So I was abroad for 7 years. And for me, I was so trying to do everything the way the locals were doing it. So I wasn't
mhm,
trying to be American. I was trying to be them. But in doing so and listening to the advice of the locals, I found myself dimming myself to fit in. Especially, I
mm,
was in a culture, Scandinavia, that really values us being alike, right?
mhm,
The social,
mhm,
yeah, don't be here and I'm here. Let's kind of all hang around here, right?
mhm,
And so I didn't know. I wasn't. I didn't think about. I learned the language. I did all that. I didn't think about what I would look like and how I would belong in the country, right? And that's
mm,
true of every country. And though it is cliche, culture shock is real. And I think the
mm,
model looks probably and the way you experience the culture shock is different depending on the country that you go to, but you have
mhm,
a human response to change, right? A human
mhm,
response to moving to a new culture. So, so yeah, so showing, I do think what are some other tips I think you would say to someone, especially specifically, let's talk to Americans that are moving outside the country. What are some other tips? So I hear you saying, "Hey, go there. Don't look for America there, right? Try to experience what they have, eat the food that is offered." I will say, I did like getting my little care packages from America with my favorite things. So, you can still do that, but tell me more. What are some of the other things you would tell someone when they're moving abroad? abroad.
Yeah,
But
and you know, everyone's experience, expat experience can be different depending on where you land, like you said.
mhm,
And so for me, the first two countries, Fiji and Egypt, they are considered developing countries.
mhm,
And so, you know, being in those places, you know, like trying to again look for my favorite foods and from
mm,
America,
it's
it's costly, you know,
yeah,
because you're looking at spending money for exported goods.
yeah,
And also, this is my personal opinion, a lot of the stuff from America, it's not healthy.
yeah,
It's not good for us. And so I really loved that I could get fresh fruits and vegetables right on the side of the road.
yes,
And so that was really nice. And so I guess the tip that I would give for fellow Americans making this jump is to try to get to know the culture.
yeah,
In some places, if the expat community is a sizable community, you can find yourself stuck in that place, stuck
yeah,
with the expat community.
yeah,
Because again, we look for familiarity. It
yeah,
feels comfortable. It feels good.
yeah,
And so it is getting to know some of the locals,
yeah,
making friends with the locals if you can,
mhm,
because it will give you a richer experience. And
yes.
if something goes down, they know what to do. They
No,
they know
they
how to
know
help
what
you
to
and how to
do.
comfort you, right?
That's so
So,
true, yes. Yeah,
and the expats are running around, you know, maybe checking in with the embassy, but they don't know where to go, what to do. The locals will know exactly what to do. And in the countries that I've lived in, the locals have always been friendly.
yes,
Um, you know, Egypt has a little reputation,
mhm,
but once you get to know the people, once they get to know you, they're
yeah,
actually very kind.
yeah,
And so it just, again, for me, it just helps to make the experience richer. It helps to make it more fulfilling. Um, and it makes it real, if that makes sense. You know,
absolutely.
because if you do the expat stuff with the expat people, again, it's just like being back in the States. It's really just like being back home.
Yeah,
But if you're, again, shopping at the local shops, buying local goods,
mhm,
you know, spending time with local merchants in the local community, you do feel as though you've left America.
yeah. Exactly, and one of my dear friends who has lived in several countries, she said to me, you know, when you go to a new country, try to decode the culture, understanding. Don't take things personally. It's not about you. You are experiencing something that you have not experienced before. So take the time to
Hmm.
decode it, ask questions of the locals, and then try to find yourself in it. But because a lot of times we can respond for a way a culture responds to us, but it really is just their culture, right? You need a chance. It's like I tell the story in Norway, like when I got on the bus and I would say hi to everybody and no one sat next to me. And it took my stepdaughter to say, because nobody says hi to strangers, but drunk people, people outside of their mind and Americans, so they don't do it, right? So I stopped and then people would sit by me, and just those little things. I could have taken it personally, react, oh my God, because I'm black or anything.
Hmm.
It had nothing to do
Yeah.
with that. It was literally their culture. What's your kids' adjustment been like? And tell me about being getting up and moving to a new country as a single parent.
They've enjoyed it a lot. I do check in with them because it's their life too. So I
Yeah.
check in with them to see how they're doing, to see how they feel about the entire experience. And I would say overall the consensus is that they're happy and they really enjoy it.
Wow.
You know, being an expat living outside of the States, we also do a lot of traveling. Like right now we're actually in Thailand. We've been
Mhm.
doing a 15-day tour of Thailand from Chiang Mai.
Mhm.
To PP and then back to Chiang Mai, and then we'll go back to Taiwan.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, my daughter shared actually during this trip that she loves the fact that we get to travel,
Yeah.
because we are looking at maybe moving closer to the States,
Yes.
not back to the States, but closer to the States.
Mhm.
And, you know, she shared that, you know, she really loves to travel. She does miss our family. She
Yes.
would like to see them more,
Yeah.
but she loves the fact that we've been to so many different places and have had so many different experiences.
Yes.
So they they've loved school, each school that they've attended. They've thoroughly enjoyed it. The education they've received has been top notch.
Yes.
Um, my daughter, the teenager, there's being a therapist, being a counselor, I do understand developmentally, she's reaching a place where friends are going to be really important. They already are. They're very important. And so, the next move that we make, I'm really hoping it's our last for
Yeah.
a long time,
Hmm.
because I want her to develop those lifelong friendships, people that she can talk about that she's known for since, high school. So
Yes.
that for me is maybe the one thing I would ask parents to keep in mind, single
Mm.
parents and just parents in general, is thinking about the developmental level of your child. Like, where are they?
Yes.
Younger kids, they're happy wherever you are.
Yes.
Wherever mom and dad are, or wherever mom is, or wherever dad is, they're happy because their foundation is you. As they
Yes.
get older, they branch out and friends become more important. So
Yeah.
it's trying to time that move as best you can and making those decisions that will serve your family.
Yeah, that's good. How do they speak different languages? Or actually, two questions: do they go to international schools or local schools? And did they pick up the language?
They go to international schools and they've picked up some of the language. I
Oh,
wouldn't say they're fluent in anything other than English, but they've learned some Fijian, they've learned some Mandarin, they've learned a little bit of Arabic. And our next move, like I said, more than likely will be in Latin America, and they're excited about learning a little bit of Spanish.
good. That's amazing. And international schools are amazing. So you're right. I can see why they wouldn't get. They do take language classes, but they're not like submerged into the language, right?
Right.
But
Hmm.
I love international schools, and because the kids go to school with so many kids from around the world.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How has that enriched the lives of your children? Have you seen a difference since since they've been, instead of now hearing about Africa and or seeing that picture that comes on TV with that same fly that enters from the same corner of the TV because it's an overlay, right? To literally experiencing people that are living and thriving and traveling. Do they ever talk about that, or what's their experience with their understanding of the world?
I have to be honest, and this isn't going to necessarily paint them in the best light. They're young, and I do think that they've taken a lot of this for granted.
Mhm.
They, they enjoy it, and I think they see it and they absorb it,
Yeah.
but to them it's not a big deal. It's just what they do and it's who they are, and it's been their experience. They have made friends from all over, and I think that that's one thing that kind of stands out. My youngest son, he still keeps in contact with his friends from Fiji. One of them lives in Australia, one is in, I think, South Korea at the moment, and the other one is in Dubai.
Mhm.
So they all get together online and play games together.
Mhm.
And, living in America, that isn't necessarily what would have happened.
Yes.
Even though we have international students, of course, in America, they would not have had that experience in a public school in the States.
Yes.
And so, like I said, they just kind of take it for granted. It just is what it is.
Mhm.
Um, we do talk. I have asked them because again, I like to check in with them about the experiences that they've had and what they think of them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I liked going to the beach on the Red Sea, and I liked going into the pyramids, and that was fun." My son's favorite trip was our trip to Dubai. I loved, going to Dubai was fun, but this is just their life. It doesn't
Mm.
it doesn't resonate as deeply as I would like it to. Not yet. I think it will when they're older and they reflect on it. But
Yes.
right now, they're just going with the flow.
It's just life. It's just
Mhm,
I what a great experience for them where it's just a part of who they are. Yeah, to see
mhm,
themselves as kind of a world citizen. Yeah.
mhm.
So, let's see. I wanted to go over. So it doesn't sound like you're gonna move back to America, or at least that's not in your forecast as of now. So you're looking at
No.
Latin America and to settle down. How has, your support to the expat community as a coach and as a therapist, um, what has that looked like in the different countries, and how have you supported families and or single parents or couples in moving abroad?
I have to be honest, I don't think I've actually directly assisted with anyone with moving abroad. I've
Mhm.
tried to share information, and like I said, that comes through the single parenting abroad vlog that I've created. connecting with single parents that are already here. Like,
Yes.
there's a friend of mine who's still in Egypt, Takia. She and
Mhm.
I did some videos together, just talking about our experience, discussing some of the logistics of it as a single parent moving abroad.
Mhm.
Child custody can be a big hurdle. If you don't have, full custody of your child,
Mhm.
the father, rightfully so, I won't take that right from the father or the
Yes.
mother, if it's a single dad. Um, but if they don't consent, then it can be a challenge to kind of get to live that dream that you have for yourself and your children.
Mhm.
So, she and I talked a little bit about that, how that works, and what's needed as a single parent to make this move successfully. And that
Yes.
is creating your own community.
Mhm.
You have to, we're single parents, we have to have that support.
Mhm.
We no single parent does it alone. No person really does it alone, but single parents definitely
Mhm.
can't do it alone. You can make the move alone, but you immediately then start creating that community. That's
Mhm.
those people in your life that will be there to support you.
Mhm. Now, some people might be listening to this, and you might have a mother or a family, a couple, or with a family, and they're like, "I want to do that. I want to teach. I want to move abroad." Where would you tell them to start, and what would you tell them to that they really need to consider before making a jump like that?
As educators, and it was news to me when my friend came to me and said, "Hey, you should do this." It's actually pretty easy. They make it very easy to make that move as an educator.
Mhm.
It's just that a lot of people don't hear about it. A lot of people don't think about it as an option.
Mhm.
But once you do start thinking about it and looking into it,
Mhm.
there are lots of options and resources out there.
Mhm.
The first step would be to, this is my recommendation, is to sign up with one of the hiring agencies. There are several, Search Associates, Schroll, ISS. There's, trying to think who else. Those are the three that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Mhm.
But there is a fee associated. It's
Mhm.
for search, it could be a hefty fee, but the benefits of it kind of outweigh that cost,
Mhm.
because if you land someplace, they provide housing, they provide your flight, to and from,
Mhm.
they provide tuition for your children. So
Mhm.
the benefits are there, and so it's just a matter of being a licensed educator
Mhm.
with some years of experience
Mhm.
and some good references, and you
Mhm.
can land anywhere in the world.
Yes.
um, like I said, for me, and I don't know how this paints me, but I really just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, because
Yeah.
I'm just that open to pretty much going wherever the wind blows. Again, that's changing as my children get older, but
Yes.
that's how I've started it.
Yes.
Um, and so, Fiji was lovely. The country was fantastic. Healthcare not so great, so we couldn't stay there.
Mhm.
Um, Egypt, different experience as a single woman. It was
Yeah.
a little difficult, which kind of again led to me needing to move from there as well.
Yeah.
And like I said, now Taiwan is very developed. I don't know if anyone has been following the news, but they are like the top semiconductor provider of the world. So technology and all of that is there. Oh, well, yeah, is there in Taiwan. So this is a little bit more of a comfortable move,
Yeah.
but it still doesn't feel like home.
Yeah.
So we'll jump again.
Yeah.
So, but if you are a planner, if you are someone that needs to know where you're going and what that's going to look like,
Mhm.
research. There's so much information out there as to, the quality of life in some of these places, the
Yes.
healthcare in these places. So there's never a reason not to know. There's data that can be found pretty easily.
Yeah. I wanted to say something because you dropped, that some of the agencies paying a hefty fee, but you get it back in benefits. The cost of going to international schools is substantial, and so
Oh,
just
absolutely.
yeah, just that piece, I just want people to hear that. So if you do this, just know that if they're covering that tuition, that's like a college tuition right there, and they're getting
Yes,
some of
it is.
education, and so that is cool. There are grants like Fulbright grants through America. If you're a student and you want to travel abroad, check with your school. You be under the guise of the embassy, and I think they usually do a year. They might have more. I don't remember. Healthcare is another big thing. Research the
Mhm.
healthcare of the country you go into. Um,
Yes.
yes. Did you want to add something to that, or you
Well,
just?
like I said, Fiji was our first stop, and my son, my youngest son, actually got very ill when we were there. It was like I want to say a few months before COVID like hit the scene. He ended up getting the flu, and you think, oh, it's the flu. Just take
Yeah.
some liquids, take some Tylenol, you'll be fine. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, his flu developed into pneumonia, and we
Mm,
ended up having to go to the local hospital, and we were there for I want to say pretty much months from the was it the beginning of November until like maybe early December. So maybe yeah, a few weeks, so about a
yeah,
month.
yeah,
Um, and that, like I said, the healthcare there is not that great. It is a developing country, and it was a scary time.
yeah,
And when COVID came, because of that experience, I was like, oh, we can't stay because if someone gets it, we might be no more.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
and that was okay. And, it was disappointing that we had to go because I love Fiji. I love the people. The
mhm,
country is a beautiful place.
yes,
Um, but, again, as a parent approaching living abroad, your
yes,
children's needs always will always come first.
yes,
So we
absolutely.
had to go. And I think we still would have gone to Fiji. But
Mhm,
if it was to be a long-term permanent move, I don't
mhm.
think we could have done it because the healthcare was just not what we needed it to be.
Yeah. So that definitely look into that. I know when I was abroad, one of the things when I didn't particularly care, America, we have our faults, but we have some states. Well, the state I'm in we have a good healthcare system,
Mhm,
and cover California, so everyone in California can have health insurance. But what I did is I started looking for private doctors when I was abroad because if
mhm,
some I remember I got really sick and they're not really big on antibiotics but I knew I'm like I know me and this is a sinus infection, right? And they wouldn't do
mhm,
it. They're like, well, your infection. They take your blood to see, what level of infection you have. Well, it's not heavy enough for antibiotics. Girl, so then I traveled with some friends. I got so sick and went to the doctor, and they immediately
mm.
the other doctor I went to in that country gave me antibiotics because they understood and saw how sick I was. And I made that doctor, I was like, write a letter to my travel insurance of why you didn't give me antibiotics and I told you I was going to travel. So there are ways, and I did find private doctors to kind of, when I was concerned and just seeing if that option is available in a country that you're going to is worth it as well. Yeah.
Well, and what I have noticed, even in the developing countries, though, the healthcare is so much more accessible. Like
Mhm.
when we needed prescriptions, both of my children use an inhaler when they need it. I
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about setting up a doctor's appointment to have them evaluated and then to get a prescription and then go to the pharmacy to get the prescription. I went to the pharmacy and said, I need this type of inhaler, and they gave it to me.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Oh, cool. That's not Norway. Yeah, that's
okay.
cool.
And the cost is so much less than what I would have paid in the States. I think
Yeah.
um in Fiji the inhaler may have been like $6 or something like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
So I will say for each country that I've lived in, it's
Mhm.
been phenomenal in regards to just regular maintenance care. Not
Yeah.
necessarily a long hospital stay, but just, oh, my kid has, his ear is hurting. And you go to the doctor, they see you pretty much immediately, and
Yes.
then they give you what you need to get it taken care of. And so
Yes.
it's just completely different. And again, as a parent, that to me was like, again, one of the reasons why I'm not in a hurry to return to the States.
Yeah. Understood. Understood. So the last thing I think I want to do before we close is for each, because I'm sure people are like, oh my God, I would love to hear a little bit, if I want to travel, study, or live in Fiji, Egypt, and then Kuwait. No, you didn't go to Kuwait. So Fiji, Egypt, and now Taiwan.
Egypt, Taiwan. Yep.
Yeah. Could you, for each of those countries, just tell us briefly, just, something pretty amazing, something that they can expect, I guess, when they, let's say, just travel first. What would you recommend they see and or experience in Fiji?
Um, what would I recommend they see?
or experience?
That's a tough one. And the reason it's tough is because, when people think of Fiji, they think of postcard Fiji. They think of the beautiful blue waters and the palm trees and the beautiful sandy beaches. And not that that's not there. It is most definitely there in spades. It's everywhere. But we lived in the capital city, Suva. And Suva is a little bit more grungy, a little bit more grimy. Um, but it was still a beautiful experience. Again, it's not something I would want to not do.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely spend time on the beaches, definitely, visit the lovely resorts. But if you can get into town to actually see the people,
Hmm.
then, that to me is invaluable. As a brown person, Fiji is a brown country.
Hmm.
The people look like us.
Hmm.
And so being able to be amongst people, you walk out into town and again, you don't feel, I don't know, you don't feel different,
Yeah.
because everyone looks like you.
Hmm.
When I was there, I would again go buy my fruits and vegetables and I didn't speak any Fijian and the people would look at me like, why don't you speak Fijian? Why don't
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And so just, when I look at people, I was like, man, when I first got there, I was like, man, these people could be my aunties and uncles
yeah.
because they looked so much like me and me like them. So get to know the people. And maybe this is my bias because like I said before, for me, it's all about the culture and the people.
Mhm.
And so, getting to know the people, getting to know the culture, getting to know their traditions,
Mhm.
yes, do the resorts, lay on the beach, but
Yeah.
get to know the people.
Yeah. How was using English in Fiji? Were you able to use English?
Yes,
Oh,
they are a former British colony. So just about everyone there speaks English. They Fijian is a national language. Hindi is actually a national language because they have a large Indian population. And then English. All the signs are in English.
mhm.
Everywhere you go, someone will speak English. So it's not really a difficult travel at all.
Nice. Now Egypt. Let's hear a little bit about Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah.
Egypt is in an acquired taste.
Mhm. Love that.
And I say that because depending on why you're there and how long you're there, your experience can be very different.
Mhm.
I've known people that have just gone to travel. They've gone to see the pyramids and again all the sites. And people say, "Oh, I was treated like a queen or I was treated like a king." It's because you're coming with that American dollar.
Mm. Mm.
It's because they
Yeah.
recognize that you have money
Mhm.
and service, once they see that you have service is going to be top notch, they're going to bend over backwards. They're going to make sure that you have what you want and what you need. And that's
Yes.
great for a tourist.
Yes.
For someone who lives there, it's a little bit different.
Mhm. Mhm.
Unfortunately, there is a lot of colorism and
Mhm.
discrimination.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not necessarily based upon racial lines. It is more so about colorism. The
Mhm.
lighter you are, the better you'll be treated. The
Mhm.
darker you are, the worse you're treated.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and sisters that come from, say, Nigeria, Ghana,
Mhm.
the Sudan, they're not necessarily treated the best.
Mhm.
And for me, that was hard.
Yeah.
And like I said, being a woman there trying to conduct business, it was hard
Yeah.
because it is a male dominated culture.
Yes.
So a lot of people there that I know that are African American, they're usually there with their spouse. They're usually married, and
Mm.
so the husband will be there to kind of conduct business and talk about certain things, to act as physical protection. So
Yeah.
it's just different. But
Yeah.
again, the culture draws me in. I
Mhm.
miss hearing Arabic. I miss hearing the songs and the music.
Mhm.
I miss seeing the women in their galabeas.
Mhm.
It's just a whole another experience.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and like I said, the Egyptian people, when you first see them about,
Mhm.
they're very loud, they're very expressive.
Mhm.
And, when they're not happy, you know that they're not happy.
Mhm. Mhm.
But on the other end of that, like I reflect back to when I broke my foot. I was
Mhm.
outside playing soccer with my kids and I managed to break my foot. And so I'm trying to hobble through like the mall, trying to get to where I'm going, and people are stopping, they're opening doors, they're, let me help you. And I
Yeah.
was like, it can be night and day. Like,
Yeah.
but but it shows their heart. It shows that they're wonderful people, that
Yeah.
they're great people, great history, great culture.
Mhm.
So yeah, go visit. And if
Mhm.
you decide to make it a home, just know that there's some challenges and you can do it as long as you're willing to adapt.
Mhm. And then Fiji. I'm
Well,
sorry.
we talked about Fiji,
Taiwan. Taiwan.
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
Taiwan is a fairly recent move. We moved to Taiwan in July.
Mhm.
And so we're still actually learning more about Taiwan, meaning myself and my children.
Mhm.
We're still learning more about Taiwan. It, Mandarin is the language.
Yeah.
The citizenship is primarily of Chinese descent.
Mhm.
There are some indigenous groups, or I think it's just one indigenous group. I could be wrong. Um, and for the most part, like I said, it's been the easiest place I've lived so far.
Mhm.
We live within walking distance of everything and anything we could possibly want,
Yeah.
from massage parlors to nail salons to restaurants and malls. Everything is so close, at
Yeah.
least, based upon where we live. It's not a hard life at all. And
Nice.
so, yeah, it's been nice. I think it's what we've needed.
Mhm.
Again, coming from Fiji and Egypt, because even though they were beautiful places, they aren't easy places to live.
Mhm.
And so, coming to Taiwan, life is easy.
Good.
It's
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to close with you just telling us a little bit about how to get in touch with you, and tell us a little bit about your book, which I'm definitely going to get a copy. I really love vision and planning and goal setting. But just who do you help?
Who do I help? That's a good question. Um, the way I see it, I help everyone.
Hmm.
Expats, because our journey and our life, even though, again, if you follow social media, you see all these beautiful places that these expats are going, and all these wonderful vacations that they're having, but the adjustment can be hard.
Yes.
Leaving behind what leaving behind family most of the time. Most of us will travel with our nuclear family, but we're still leaving behind, parents and cousins and aunts, and our full support system. And again, having to deal with the acculturation process in their new country,
Mhm.
and then maybe the work stress that comes with that, because they're coming with a job more times than not.
Yes.
So just helping with that adjustment, helping with them feeling comfortable and, again, fully themselves in this new place.
Hmm.
um, I do still serve some clients in the States as well.
Hmm.
So, everyone and anyone, I do my best to help anyone that feels as though they need the help.
Amazing.
Um, in regards to um, the book, and I actually have a copy here.
Hmm. Can you flip the pages? I was curious as I saw the
Yes.
description. Yeah.
So let's see. And actually, I've been working with some of my current clients on
Mhm.
this piece, values evaluation.
Yeah.
Anytime that you're thinking of, making a change, or reaching a goal,
Yes.
being really in tune with your values and who you see yourself as being is important.
Mhm.
Um, when I created it, I think the tagline on Amazon is actually that, reaching your goals is not just reserved for one time of year. It's not just about New Year's Eve. It's about every day of your life.
Yes.
So if you're not in tune with what your values are, like
Mhm.
you say that you want to make more money, what does that look like? And how does that feed into your value system?
Yes.
Making more money is doable, but do you want to go about it in a certain way? Do
Yeah.
you want to step on people for the sake of a dollar?
Yeah.
Um, and for some people, they do, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes.
um, but for others, maybe not. But again, you need to know that about yourself. Or
Absolutely.
if you don't, then you're headed down the wrong road.
Yeah.
Um, so the values evaluation, the I, again, I came across this because I like vision boards, I really do, but I think that they fall a little short, which is
Mhm.
why I created the book. The vision board it's pretty. it definitely serves as a reminder of what it is that you want to achieve, but it
Yes.
doesn't have the goal setting piece. And
Mhm.
so these are like blank pages where you would actually glue in the
Mm,
different pictures
yeah,
that you would want to put in. So that's kind of the vision board in a book
yeah.
kind of thing.
I love
But
that.
then but then we get to the business of
Yeah,
setting the goals.
yes.
And so that's kind of it was with me for a while, and I was like, let me just go ahead and do it.
Mhm.
And like I said, use components of it with my clients in
Yes.
regards to helping them reach their goals.
Yes. I love it. So you guys do visit Amazon. The information will be in the comments, and I'm definitely going to grab a copy. And do leave a review about the book. If you grab a copy, go
Please.
back and leave a review. Well, it's been amazing speaking with you, and we can go on and on. I'm probably gonna. I mean, we could just delve into so many different things. So I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to talk. If you're watching, drop your questions in. We will definitely make sure they get answered, as well as connect with Chante and
Yes.
and follow her blog. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today. I learned a lot. Super excited for you and what life has for you. Any last things you want to say before we end?
No, thank you so much for this opportunity, Alicia. I've really appreciated it. I hope that what I've shared is helpful to those who are thinking of taking that step to live outside of the United States. It's a wonderful experience. I
Mhm.
don't want to make it seem as though it's easy. Nothing in life is easy, but it's definitely rewarding. It broadens your perspective. If you're coming with children, it broadens your children's perspective, on life and what's truly possible.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
by all means, give it a shot.
yeah. Give it a shot. Could be a passport to true freedom. And when I say that,
Absolutely.
the world is your oyster, right? So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end our broadcast for today.